They also said that they want to invest more in emphasizing components that are customer-oriented, concentrating on customer service, increasing the customer value. Real mixed bag on the menu of services. Some people feel that going forward they'll have to offer more variety. So depending, you can actually pick if you want the 2% model, the 3%, the 5%, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of mixed opinion on that. I also did a survey of regulators across the country in January, and there was 56 of them. 54% were board members, so it was about half and half, board and management, and 26% were women, 55% over 55, so they're the old goats. And it was mostly, again, Western Canada, although a big influence from Ontario. And this is way too much stuff to read, but I'll focus in on, like over the halfway mark, the number one thing that management and board agreed on would be the big change going forward would be an emphasis on buyer brokers. So tying into James's comment here, how many people would agree with that? Okay, well, we've seen some. So, and that's fundamentally what the internet does, is it shifts the bargaining power to the buyer side from the supplier side. Other things, though, that were very interesting, the next two were more professional education and more consumer education, so which had come up before. There's change happening, there's new tools being used, and we have to educate for that. This is what I found really interesting, and this was very specific because it was January, to the consent agreement with the Competition Bureau and CREA. And the blue line is management, and the red line is boards. And management is willing to take more risks. And they're saying, hey, there's some opportunities out here. We should be looking at that. And the board is saying, whoa, this is kind of threatening our ability to be good regulators. So that just causes me to think about a bunch of things and more research to come. Yes?
On those services that they talked about, did they identify what they do?
No, it was just, you know, put your dot down. So, okay, we're getting, and now this is the most important survey of all, of course. This is a survey that you took, which about half the people in here are agents, another 12% or so, I think, are brokers. But then we've got a real mix of various other people, including a few that actually clicked off the, hey, real estate is cool. Thank you for doing that. So what did you say? Well, I actually split the data between brokers and agents, what they thought, and all others. So real estate fees are hard to earn. What you see on the all others is half of them really don't know, and that's fair enough. I mean, they're not in that business. But for the ones that do know, 2/3 of them say, yeah, you know, that's tough work, and which actually fits with the brokers and agents. So there's some consistency there, and there's some recognition that, yeah, it's hard work. There's lots to do. This I found really interesting. Real estate professionals add value for home sellers and home buyers. So the top two are for home sellers, the bottom two are for home buyers. Both cases, whether it's the realtors or the others, they're saying sellers get more value than buyers. Does anybody want to give some color to that, explain why that would be? Sorry? Okay, so the answer was there's a contract in place with the sellers, so they have more services, certainly more identifiable. Okay, yes?
I think for sellers you do more visibly identifiable where you take pictures, measure the house, put it on the internet, et cetera, et cetera. Buyers, you just take them out, they look and they say, oh, I like that one.
Okay, so the answer is for sellers, it's more visible. All the work that you're doing, you're taking pictures, you're measuring, you're putting stuff on the internet, you're advertising. So it's much more visible, the effort that's being put in. I also want to point out that on the all other side, you know, like 77% agree or strongly agree, hey, that's pretty good. I got to tell the people who are in the real estate industry, like, let me ask you this. What do you think the answer would be if I asked you if you feel that lawyers add value? Not 77%, I'm guessing. So we got some pretty good stuff happening there. Next questions were, the top line again is real estate professionals should add more value. And everybody seems to feel yes, and in particular the all others say yes, yes, bring us more value. So something to keep in mind. And then the second question is real estate professionals offer too much in services, and frankly nobody agrees with that. So that's, I mean, to me that's kind of saying that this audience, if there was, okay, so this is the way I throw it out. Let's say there's three options for you going forward. One is low-end disruptor, like mere posting. Two is just keep doing what you're doing. Three is added value or added services. I would say that this group is saying, hey, I kind of like option three. Let's move more towards the added service. Whoops, went too far. And then the role of real estate professionals will change, much as the vote that we had here. Most people agree with that. And then real estate fees are likely to go down. Well, the all others, wishful thinking, of course, 55% of them say, yeah, I'm all for that, but I'm pretty sure if I asked them if they want to pay less for anything, they'd say yes. The realtors are split, pretty much a three-way split. Some say, no, they might actually go up. Some say, no, they're going to stay the same as they are. And a third of them say, yeah, they're going down. So that is interesting in itself. I think we're really caught in this period of change. One of the things out of the broker survey, 240 brokers, I don't think I mentioned this, I did a survey in 2005 and asked the brokers, when will change occur? And the number one answer was 10 years plus. Don't worry about it, 10 years plus. That was in 2005, so that would put us into 2015. This time I asked, when will change happen? The mean, 4 years. 2015 again. So either everybody's got their head locked on 2015 or the intuition back in the day was correct and we seem to be moving towards some kind of change happening in the next few years. So what's next? Well, scenario one that's been put out is that there's no role for real estate professionals. That, frankly, is not supported by the theory, by the literature that I've reviewed, by the survey data. Absolutely nothing supports the idea that real estate brokers and agents are going to disappear. But scenario two, that there's some kind of change future, seems to be very strongly supported and more towards diverse multiple offerings. Somehow the industry makeup will change. Firms should build their capabilities in relation to roles matrix. So that's that idea, moving from the matching more towards the bargaining. Education seems to be very, very key. And decoupling matching and bargaining is one option, but there seems to be more and more emphasis on extending matching excellence to develop the long tail. In other words, other industries are moving to the long tail. Real estate kind of started with it. Now can you add value onto it to have something really quite spectacular? And that is that. Let's see. Thank you for completing the survey. And any questions? Thank you very much. So Richard, just take questions?
Yeah.
Yes?
Can you define a little more the difference between the matching and the bargaining?
So the matching is, the question is, can I define better the difference between matching and bargaining? Matching is really just putting together a buyer and a seller. So identifying what would be a good match. And then it's almost like a two-stage approach. Then you move into the bargaining, which I would argue is maybe not the right word because it's meant to encompass everything that's required to take that match, like we connect well together, or that's the house for me, to having the keys in your hand.
The word negotiating is probably better.
Negotiating would be a lot better. Yes.
Will your research in this area be ongoing, and if so, can be accessible?
And so the question is whether the research will be ongoing and if it's accessible. Yes and yes. Actually, the next stage, I want to move into talking to consumers, maybe some focus groups, find out what their thoughts are about whether there'll be change and what they'd be looking for. And I am producing, so I've just done a little summary of the survey for the Alberta Real Estate Foundation, and I'll be providing more data to them. So that would be your best source of information on the stuff that I'm working on. Yes, Fred.
Do you have any personal opinions as to what some of the change might look like?
Okay, so the question is whether I have any personal opinions as to what the change might look like. Of course I do, but I don't want to share that yet. I'm still developing it, actually, Fred. Yes?
You mentioned that education is key. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, great question. You know, and primarily that came up with the regulators. They really felt that there has to be a push for more education for professionals and for consumers to understand what's the most effective role. And it's sort of, the way that I read it is it's jumping over that line and saying, yes, you know, having an agent is important. This is the largest purchase. You don't do it that often. It's complex for all those reasons. It's important. But maybe consumers don't really understand. And in particular, the comment about buyers, you know, like, oh, this is free, great. You know, they should understand a little better what the whole process is and what they should be asking and what kind of value they should be getting. Yes.
So just on that note, do you have any plans to, or have you heard anything about any type of mentorship program for residential real estate agents? Because in every other industry, you know, you become a policeman, you don't take 2 weeks or 3 months or whatever course, and now you're a policeman, right? Like firefighters, lawyers, whatever. Except in residential real estate, you come in and you make the same money as I do.
Okay, so the question is there a mentorship program for residential real estate agents to get a better understanding of all of these changes and things going on? That's beyond my scope, but it's a great question, and you know, maybe Kreb or Rika or Ref, somebody could look into that a little more.
I was kind of suggesting that maybe you can look into that. Part of the scope of things, but you know, I think it's important that we look at as a whole industry some type of mentorship program. Even commercial real estate, you can't really get into it unless you mentor. Why is residential different?
Okay, so the suggestion is maybe I should add it to the scope of my research. It's great. I'll send the bill next week, Richard. No, that's a great idea. Yes.
I might just be having a particularly bad run, but I am noticing less loyalty. And so we have a kind of paradox in that as we as an industry are, thank you, as we are better educated and for example, the public might perceive that one realtor does what another realtor does, even though that might not be true, my feeling is that we're being treated like retail salespersons. And that is something that if you could somehow identify what is it that people actually want in a salesperson, is that changing? I think that might be interesting.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. That's actually perfect as I move to the next stage of the research. Thank you very much. Okay, well, you know what? I think it's been a little longer than we planned session, so I'm going to hand it over to Richard.
Well, join me in thanking Jim Dewald for sharing.